Welcome, everyone, to The Last Cast, the show where I talk about the last piece of media I consumed, or maybe I'll just talk about whatever I want. It's my show, I'll do what I want. I'm your host, Jackson, and today I am joined by the chewer of chalk, the eater of crayons, Connor from the Condork Gaming channel here on YouTube. Say hello, Connor.
That is just simply not true. I do not chew chalk.
But you totally eat crayons, though, right?
Oh, for sure, dude.
For
It's
sure,
good
for sure.
protein.
So, for those joining us today, we are talking about WandaVision, the newest show from Marvel. That I think it was a good big hit. What do you think?
Yeah, dude. It was totally, I think, the perfect mix of normal sitcom, but then also having that good old Marvel kick to it, especially at the later half of it.
Oh yeah. So we'll try and stay spoiler free for the first few minutes. I'll let you know when we're gonna start talking about spoilers, if you haven't seen the show. But yeah, did you like the show?
Yeah, dude. I think that it was slow in some areas, but overall, I think that it was one of Marvel's better properties, for
I
sure.
I think so too. I really liked it. Something I've missed in television ever since streaming services have become the norm is week to week waits between shows. And I didn't realize that I love that, but when it comes to shows like this where there's a ton of like theorizing and ooh, what's gonna happen? Ooh, could this happen or that? I'm like, ooh, I really like this format. I like waiting between episodes. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the show does a really good job, like I said at the beginning, of holding people out till the end. It sort of gave me the vibe of a YouTube ARG, if you know what that is, something
Hmm.
like I Am Sophie, something like that. If you get my drift there, where
I think I do.
you're really getting immersed into the show, the world, and it gives you just enough information to make some theories, but never enough to fully get you in until the very end.
How accessible do you think this is to new viewers to Marvel? Like, if this is WandaVision's the first bit of Marvel they ever saw, do you think this is a good jumping on point?
Absolutely not. I think you need to understand, and you get more into it as the show goes on. I think the first couple of episodes, some people can enjoy for their homages to early sitcoms and early, or even some modern sitcoms in the later episodes. But I think a lot of the story, the underlying story, details with events that have happened in previous Marvel movies and Marvel properties. So you need to know at least the end of the Infinity Saga to really understand this movie,
Yeah, yeah.
not movie, TV show.
Yeah, no. I had the privilege to watch this with my family, and on one side I had my dad, my brother, and I, who we've seen everything Marvel. We know everything that's going on in the universe, and then my mom, she liked the show because of all these sitcom tropes that she used to grow up with, and she had seen Endgame and Infinity War, so she knew what was going on with Wanda and Vision. Spoilers, they're in the show. Didn't know if you knew that. But yeah, so she had a great time with the show as well. So I definitely agree with you. This is not accessible for if you've never been a fan of Marvel in the past. This is your first outing into the MCU. I don't think it's going to be for you.
For sure, for sure.
But if you are a huge
Yeah,
Marvel fan, you're gonna love the show. If you like old sitcoms, you're gonna love this show. If you like the Twilight Zone or Twin Peaks, or those kind of shows where it's like, oh, what's happening? You're gonna love this show. It's great.
for sure. I think that a lot of the appeal with a lot of more recent shows has got to be this whole mystery element. Like people got hooked onto Stranger Things, and
Mm.
like that was like a huge thing.
Oh
And one of the
yeah,
cruxes
I
of
didn't
like
even
the
I didn't even
it
think about Stranger
like
Things.
yeah, one of the cruxes of that show is like who's 11? Where does 11 come from? What is this monster that's running around? Like, what is the nature of these different creatures, and how do the kids fit in? And like, you have to answer all of these questions, and I think people get really into it. And that was a show that was bingeable, and so to have the ability to have your audience out in suspense for so long only adds to that appeal.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, I think we're gonna start getting into spoiler territory. So if you are not someone that's seen the show, we're gonna have spoilers in three, two, one. What's John Krasinski doing in
Snape
this?
kills Dumbledore.
I know. Well, did you see John Krasinski in the last few episodes? He was amazing. Brought him in to be Mr.
Wow.
Fantastic. Ugh, so good.
Yeah, I loved how they definitely incorporated X-Men into it.
I
Definitely, for
I
sure.
know. Ugh, I think that was a good bit for the people that stuck on and were like, "What? No, I got
That was hilarious.
spoiled."
You've been had.
You've been had. All right. Okay. So, what was your favorite episode and or moment?
I think my favorite episode as a whole, which also contains my favorite moment, has got to be that episode 8. It answers all the right questions, and it gives you just enough of the parts of the show and parts of Marvel. I think it really brings out the best parts of Marvel in that, because Marvel does a really good job of making these characters humans that are becoming more than what they were. And I think that episode 8 does a really, really good job at displaying the humanity behind Wanda after painting her as some sort of villain for the last couple episodes beforehand.
I think that's a really good point. I disagree. That's actually my least favorite episode. I'll get into why in a second. But with the DC and Marvel thing, that's a really good point. Because DC is gods trying to be human, and Marvel is humans trying to be gods. And I think that's the huge difference. And that's why characters like the character in DC that everyone resonates with is Batman, because he's a guy. He's not a superhero. He's just a hero.
Yeah, you don't relate to Superman. You can admire,
Oh,
oh, he freaking threw a car,
Superman's
but like,
boring. I'm sorry, but I am so bored of Superman. We'll probably do a Snyder cut video on this channel just so the algorithm will like us a bit more. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm not excited for the Snyder cut. But back to WandaVision. My point. You said episode 8 was your favorite, and because it explained all the stuff in the MCU and how it all fits together. That was my least favorite episode for that, and it was for that reason that I didn't like that episode. Well, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just it wasn't my favorite because I knew going into it. I'm like, okay, it's second to last. This is gonna be our exposition dump where it's explain everything, and then the next one will be lasers and punches and normal Marvels. So my favorite episode was episode 6, uh, where Vision's starting to figure out that not everything is what it seems. It's when it's right after the kids were born. It's the is it the 80s or not, or the 90s? I think it's 80s and 90s mix of. But my favorite scene from that episode and the whole show is when Vision is comes in the house and he confronts Wanda about how he can't control she can't control him and everything, and then she's like, can't I? Then the credits start rolling and he keeps arguing and it's still going, and I'm like, ooh, that's a good moment right there.
yeah, I think that that part really was really awesome, and I really do love that credit bit because it really is the first time that they break the fourth wall, which is convenient because isn't the name of the episode "Breaking the Fourth Wall"? Or is
i
that another
I
one?
don't remember. I could look it up, but I don't feel like it right now. So do you think the show worked as a sitcom?
I think that the show does a really good job at taking the tropes of a sitcom and throwing them on their heads. I think that anytime that there's a blatant use of a TV sitcom trope, whether it be the unexplained speed of a pregnancy or something like that in like a normal sitcom, that's right ramped up to 11 when Wanda legitimately goes through her entire pregnancy in the span of about 10 to 15 minutes. Or like uh, in other cases where they use these sitcom tropes, it's used to prove a point, less so than actually be served as a legitimate sitcom. I think that it works as a sitcom, but I don't think that that was the original intention.
Yeah, no, I think this show does a great job with all the tropes of sitcoms. Uh, I think it can, especially the first episode, super classic Dick Van Dyke situation. You got the classic misunderstanding. It's our anniversary. It's I got my boss coming over, and oh my gosh, my house isn't ready for it. I thought that it did a good job of melding a bunch of cliches together and then taking it in a little different term. I think this show, the best thing it did was keep Marvel interesting because after Endgame, I know I for one was like, okay, you can be done if you want. I don't care. Like, let's. I'm fine if Marvel ends now. Like the MCU is over
Yeah,
at
for
this
sure.
point, and so Marvel, the ball was in Marvel's court to be like, hey, we still got good stuff. We got more room to grow. This is just the beginning. And I'm like, okay. Because I honestly, while I liked Far From Home, I kind of watched it more out of reverence for Endgame rather than, oh, I want to see where the story's going now. Because
Right.
if WandaVision wasn't good, I think I was honestly going to be done with the MCU. But it was so good, and now I'm basically the thing this show did so good is hooking me on Marvel for the next however many years. All right, everybody. Now we have gotten to a portion of these videos I'm calling Last Trivia, where we talk about some trivia that isn't really that important. Probably not. That's why we saved it for the end. All right. So first trivia. The budget for each episode was reported to be as much as $25 million, making it the most expensive television series in history. Do you that is a lot of money to put into this,
That is per episode
right?
too. Like those first episodes don't need a whole lot of effects
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. I think a ton of that legit went into the actors
Mm-hmm.
and the director and all of that.
Oh yeah. Well, funny enough, that effects for the older era episodes. I have a fun trivia about that. Want to hear it?
Sure,
Fun
man.
trivia. In order to preserve the authenticity of the 50s era sitcom vibes that the show is trying to capture, Paul Bettany, Vision's actor, rather than being painted red for the Vision costume in the black and white, he was actually painted blue because blue shows up, translates better to black and white than red.
Hmm.
So I'm just imagining Wanda is married to one of the Blue Man Group dudes.
I'm thinking you got red vision,
You got
you
Red
have white
Vision.
vision, and you have blue vision.
Oh,
America, baby.
American Vision. That he really is.
America,
He
baby.
is Superman now at this point. Third trivia. In the MCU, SWORD stands for Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Department, but in the comics it stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. This change refers to observing Wanda and the Vision, who are sentient weapons, as opposed to in the comics where Sword was basically Shield but in space.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah,
Uh, do you think this means that there's going to be like a true sword in space
I
too?
think so because that's where Fury is. So I'm excited
Wow,
about that. Well, that's what I was thinking at the end of Far From Home. We saw that together.
wow, yeah,
We
we
did.
did.
With was it Peter? I think it was Peter.
I think so.
Not
Yeah,
Parker.
yeah. You know
No,
what?
no, he was
Ethan.
in the movie. We saw Peter Parker. We didn't watch it with Peter Parker.
True, true, true.
Okay.
That's a sick joke, man.
Mm-hmm. Final trivia. Last trivia. Wanda's voice saying previously on WandaVision at the beginning of each episode gets progressively less cheerful each time. So I think it would have been hilarious at the beginning of each at the beginning of the second episode where it's like previously on WandaVision, super happy and everything. By the end, she's just like takes a drag from her cigarette. She's like, Previously on WandaVision.
Yeah,
God,
she's like an
this
85-year-old chain smoker. She's like,
She's just-
previously on WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going, Janice?
She's been smoking ever since
mean-
Vision died.
I've been smoking for 85 years, and I'm 84.
My mother made bad decisions. You think this is magic? Nah, I'm just puffing smoke at you.
And I reap the benefits, baby. Let's go. Hey, give me some sugar, Vision. Give me some sugar.
Oh God, no.
Is that last trivia, or do you have more?
That was last trivia. Sorry,
last trivia.
I didn't mean to trick you by being it like last trivia and then there's more. No, I wouldn't do that. All right. I think that wraps us up. Thank you guys for watching. Check out Connor. Thank you for joining me. Check him out on his channel, Condork. He plays games. We actually have some videos together. We did a reaction to PlayStation Now. Is that what it's called? I don't care. Basically, they're direct. State of Play. That's what it is. I got it in the end. Stuck the landing. And
if you're looking for actual opinions on cinema or games or anything like that, do not go to my channel.
no.
Stay here and like and subscribe.
He
I have no
thank you.
real
That's
opinion.
what I forgot to ask everyone to do. Please leave a like and subscribe. While views is what YouTube is looking for, I like that dopamine shot in my brain. So leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time on the last cast.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.